think that's what happens to some of us when we start to think
Yeah.
about, man, what's left on the scoreboard, and we start to think about like, man, what am I going to do, instead of just going, hey, I tell my kids this all the time. I've got a 24-year-old daughter, a 19-year-old son, and an 11-year-old daughter, and they have heard from me from the cradle. Don't die with potential. You don't want to die with potential.
Yeah.
You leave
Yeah.
it all in the field, and if you're going to do that, there's going to be some failure along the way. And if we'll recognize that failure is the norm, if we go, hey, it's just part of the process, that relieves us of some fear. But
Yeah.
I mean, people are afraid of not only failure, people are afraid of success. Like what happens if I get successful? How's that going to change the way that I live? How's it going to
Mm.
change how I'm approached, or how I'm viewed, or how am I going to have to adapt my life and reorganize things? And it's craziness, right? We get in our
Yeah.
own head and we play out scenarios that are never going to happen. So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. I don't know if that even answered your question, Milo, but I hope so.
Yeah, it does. I want to challenge you to do something here. I want you to talk to the person that has that voice in the back of their head every time they start. Like for example, you writing a book.
Yeah.
A lot of times we get to this point in our life and we have less energy. Our energy is decreasing at this point. We have more experiences, but we're busier. We've got so many things going on, and to write a book, or to start a new business, or to fix a relationship that's been broken for a long time, or there's all of these different things that we can do, and fear has a tendency to just put a wall up when we
Mm.
think about what it's going to take to jump in there and do it. So talk to the person who maybe feels that wall, or feels that resistance, or feels that, or hears that voice in the back of their head when they think about doing that big thing, that important thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we have to come to the place where we recognize that fear is a liar, right? Like the whole
Mm,
goal of fear
yeah.
is to keep us from doing the thing that we're created to do, the thing we know to do is right. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean that it will go easier. It doesn't mean you're not going to be without some scars, or that you're not going to have some failure or get redirected. And just know that, like, whatever it is, if it's that relationship that needs to be repaired, like, you need, is it worth it to go through a fire to get on the other side of it to see it repaired? I think
Yeah.
absolutely it is, right? And I
Yeah.
think, and I guess my experience is always that, like, our fear is of the unknown. And you're never going to have all the answers. You can prepare, you can get as prepared as you want for that next step. There's always an element of a step of faith, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
I love. Here's what I love. I love in the movie, the Lord of the Rings, when Frodo and Samwise Gamgee are leaving to begin the adventure. They've not experienced anything that should incite fear, right? And they stop in a
Yeah.
meadow. They stop in a
Yeah.
meadow, and Sam goes, "This is it." And Frodo says, "What do you mean this is it?" And he goes, "If I take one more step, I'm going to be farther away from home than I've ever been."
Mm,
And some of us are so afraid to be farther away from the familiar, that
yeah.
we're willing to live in some really dysfunctional ways. We're in a job that we don't like. We're in a relationship that's just coasting by because we're afraid to go one step farther. And so here's where the fear comes in my experience, is that we think 100 steps down the road. And it may not be that your relationship, well, I can tell you for a fact that your relationship isn't going to get fixed overnight if you've coasted for 15 years, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's one date night. Maybe you just go, hey, you know what? We haven't been out together in so long that let's just have a date night. Or maybe it's saying I'm sorry. Whatever that
Yeah.
thing is, it's one step. It's just cracking the door and see where it goes. I think that's where
Mm,
we get locked up, is that we think the 100 steps we have to take, when all you really need to take is one next step farther away from the familiar, from the comfortable, from the safe you've ever been.
yeah. Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, right?
Yeah,
And
for
a lot of
sure.
times that first step is the
For
hardest one.
sure.